I've been practicing transcendental meditation since my father passed away. So he's probably about 10 years or so, and it's been phenomenal for me. So I do that in the morning for 20 minutes, and then I get up and I do some personal development work. So I enter those new thoughts we were talking about, reprogramming the paradigm, dropping in those affirmations, those affirmative statements, those visualizations. And then I set intentions for the day, practice gratitude, and I do some type of physical exercise. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh my God, that's a lot, and I get that, especially if type A driven women, I will say, when you implement this in the morning, it opens up more time in your day because you are now in the vortex or in the flow, right?
Yeah.
Everything is showing up that needs to show up. Life just flows. So you're setting yourself up for a more efficient, more fulfilling, more purposeful day when you take the time to practice your morning routine.
Let's learn how our next guest gets up, dress up, and show up on purpose. Enjoy the episode. Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lunid, and today I am honored, I'm elated to have a very special guest here with us, Leslie Gordon Christie. Now, she is the founder of BUFFnation 40 and Fabulous, an online fitness community for women over 40, as you imagine. But she's drawing in over 20 years of experience and lots of certifications, of course, on personal training, culinary nutrition. So the whole package. She's the whole package, and helping over a thousand workouts, and has helped many, many women improve their health and confidence. So she hosts the Buff Mom Boot Camp, which we're about to hear all about. I'm really excited to hear from her, and I think one big thing for her is the mindset shift that takes place that makes it a holistic approach. So I'm thrilled and excited to have Leslie on the show. So with no further ado, Leslie, welcome.
Oh, it's so great to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. This is exciting.
Of course, I'm elated. I want to hear all about how this all got started for you, because it's very niche, right? Because you want to work with women over 40, and why they are so dear to your heart.
Yeah, so this started, it's almost been 20 years when I look back on it now, 2 decades, but it actually started from a full-time career. I was actually in the world of TV news, believe it or not, before this. And I was, like so many of us, looking for more passion and fulfillment in my career. So I hired a coach. And to make a long story very short, I realized I was out of line with my values in what I was doing. And I was actually put on this earth to uplift and motivate, not necessarily tear down and uninspire through the reporting of daily news events. If anyone's listened to the news, and I think we all have, about what happens every day. And so what came about from this coaching was to dive back into my passion, and that's exactly what I did. I've been teaching fitness classes really since high school. It's how I put myself through journalism school. But it was a unique approach because at the time I was having a coach and I was getting mindset training, and I was understanding the importance of how you're thinking creates your results. And I thought this was a missing component from fitness programs, especially female fitness programs, where we really want to boost our confidence, boost our self-esteem, feel better about ourselves. And so that's what I did. I put the two together, and we started with something called the Buff Mom Boot Camp. Back in the day, we actually served women who just had babies and they wanted to come and get back to themselves, not just physically, but just with other women, and feel that sense of connection to themselves again. And then as our membership got older, as did I, we really shifted gears to this over 40 focus. So we're talking about premenopause, menopause, postmenopause, balance, sleep, all of those things, plus the empower of mindset. So it's really turned into many things. It's fitness, but it's also personal development and coaching for a more fulfilled, connected, and purposeful life.
Wow. And it sounds like you grew with your customers. You grow with your clients. You transition with them.
Absolutely. As I grew and really delved into personal development, it was really important for me to share all of this information with our clients. And so now when someone signs up for a fitness program, they're not just getting fitness, they're also getting some mindset coaching, they're getting some nutrition. And then we have different tiers in our business where they come to us where they maybe want to shift from a corporate career, they want to start their own business, or maybe they just want to find their passion again, or they're a type A driven female and they just want to slow down, get clear, and then up level. And that's what we do. So it's really exciting to see the different transformations that happen with the incredible women that we work with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe that. You mentioned a couple of buzzwords that I want to pick at, and one of them I think was for you personally was having this be in alignment. You said you were misaligned at first, and then you wanted to step into that purpose, in which it sounds like you're actually teaching your clients now. So let's talk about this misalignment. What does that mean to you, and how do you teach it?
Yeah, so misalignment to me back then was I was stressed out. I was overwhelmed. I was feeling unhappy. I wasn't feeling connected to what I was doing. There wasn't a true purpose for it. And so getting back in alignment, I believe, is really getting back into alignment with your source or that higher power around us. And once you do that and you understand you're an infinite, incredible, amazing human being, then you can begin to think, what were you on this earth? What are you on this earth to do? And from there, you can start to create a life vision and figure out where you want to go. And when you start to do that, that's when everything starts to flow. I don't know if you've ever experienced that before, but things click when you start to really get in line with your greater purpose.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I'm living it. I've embodied it, and so to
Okay,
hear
so
you,
you know, I
yeah,
don't have to tell you, you know.
yeah, no, absolutely. And was this all learned? You said you did Proctor Institute. Tell us about that transition for you.
So back in the day, I remember seeing the movie The Secret. Do you remember
Yep.
the movie? Okay. And I saw a man in a white suit and his name was Bob Proctor. I didn't know it at the time, but I actually signed up for his coaching program. And his coaching program is what really transformed my life, but also gave me the ability to create a new vision of my business, which I now have now. And so then I went on and I became a Proctor Gallagher certified coach. So now I teach those programs and I work them into the BUFFnation programming. And it's really, really powerful because it's all about, getting clear on where you want to go, but it's also understanding your program and how we're basically programmed to stay comfortable and how to make that shift so we can actually move towards what we want and not have our not self-sabotage and keep staying stuck. I'm not even sure if that's making sense with my grammar. But basically understanding our program, 96 to 98% of everything is a subconscious program. And until you realize that, you're going to keep thinking everything you're doing isn't quote unquote meant for you. But really, it's a program that's pushing back. And we've got to learn to reprogram and build that program for success and where we want to go. So that was very instrumental for me because I needed to program myself to then be a business leader, to then be an empowerment coach, to then be, and a motivational speaker versus someone who was in the news. I needed to see myself differently and create a new program. So that's what we do with our clients. We help them create that new program and put in that new program so they can get different results.
The beauty with that is it's habit rewiring, right? You are reprogramming the subconscious mind,
Yeah.
but you are also becoming someone entirely new, entirely different in the process, and that's powerful within itself. Because then the whole old you, the whole habits, they don't stick. They can't live
Oh,
in your space anymore.
yeah, that's so true. And it is about becoming that different person. And the exciting thing is we get to design that.
Yeah,
We get to design that, right? We
yeah,
get to figure that out. And I love this, and we talk about this at the Proctor Gallagher Institute all the time, setting goals, big, bold goals that help us, that fire us, is about more than just the get. It's about growing into the person we need to become. Like you just said, we become a different person. And that's the beauty of it.
yeah. And I think that it gets easier. You know, everything clicking into place you were talking about, then we're no longer fighting against our old self. And so change becomes a lot easier and a lot faster. And you probably have experienced the synchronicities, right? Like things just showing up, or the right person showing up for you. The Bob Proctor stood out for you in a white suit and then changed everything and changed your business model and how you're still doing this years later.
Yeah.
How, because a lot of people who are not in that space, and I'm glad you're actually adding that component into your coaching because it means a lot. People know what to do, but somehow they get stuck, right? So how do you help them follow through to actually execute or to even become that new person? Because we, like you said, want to be comfortable, and the brain wants to keep us safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the image that we have in our minds of ourselves dictates the direction we move.
Hmm.
And so often when we start a fitness program or even a quote unquote weight loss, and I don't even like that term, whatever it is, we have a focus on what we don't want rather than what we do want. And if we're always focusing on what we don't want, that's the image in our mind, and that's dictating our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, and our results. So the first thing I really get people to do is I want them to think about what they actually and truly want, not what their mom wants them to want or their husband wants them to want, but what do they actually want? And then let's get that down on paper. And don't think about whether or not you can do it. Just go with your heart. What do you want? Because you've got to really want something at your core to make it happen. Because we are creatures of habit, our program is going to take over, right? So once you get that, this is what I want, this is what I truly want, and you get it on paper and you've got that destination, then you can start to see the gaps may lie. And so often it's in our thinking, it's how we're talking to ourselves every single day. For example, if you start something new and you constantly say, this never works for me, I'm unmotivated, I'm uncoordinated, guess what happens, right?
Yep, we live it.
We live it because our thinking creates our results, and people don't realize that. So that's the first step, is the vision. The second step is realizing what you're doing to maybe move yourself away from that. And that's where it takes a little bit of discipline, because you're going to want to quit, right? I like to call it the messy middle. You start off in the honeymoon phase where you're excited. And then when you get to the middle part, it starts to get really uncomfortable. But what's happening in that messy middle and that discomfort is the growth and the new person that you're growing into, but you've got to keep going through it. So once you understand that, I also would say it's time to write down some positive programming that we want to put inside your subconscious mind every single day, because 96 to 98% of your results is controlled by your subconscious program. We've talked about that. And the only way to really change that is constant spaced repetition. So that means you got to get a new one in the way it's gone in. And so every day we've got to make affirmations and say the same ones over and over again. I am strong and fit. I am making time for myself. This is a big one that holds so many women back, is they think everyone else is important except them. Yeah. And so if you have that vision that everyone else is important except you, no matter what you do, that vision is going to give you the results, whether it's something pops up and you don't have time, or you've got to change, you got to leave for work on a trip and it's taken you off your goals. So we've got to get a new program in there. And that is, I'm learning to make time for myself. I'm learning to make myself a priority. And then what can also help along the way that is so powerful and so easy to do and doesn't cost a thing is visualizing the end result.
I was gonna say feeling it.
Yes, and adding the feeling to it. It's not just seeing it, but adding the feeling, because feeling is another word for vibration. And the vibration that we have, that's the law of attraction, right? We're in a certain vibration, we send that out, and then whatever we send out, we get back. And so when we visualize, the subconscious mind doesn't know what's real or imagined. That's the crazy thing. And there's been science behind this to show if you get into an amazing vision, your subconscious mind thinks it's real. And you keep going to that vision, and the universe is going to line up to deliver you exactly what you're visualizing. Maybe a different form, maybe not all the same details, but that's what's going to help it comes. So that's kind of the steps that I take people through. And one of the most important things I tell people is you want to keep your goal, that vision, front and center, because what you focus on grows. So it's not just about writing down your goal once, closing your book and putting it away. You want to look at it every day and you want to add that vision and that feeling, and that's going to help you get there.
I agree. And the affirmations, listen to them at night if you can. That's the easiest and fastest way they can
Get
get
it,
in there and imprint it.
put it everywhere,
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. And I want to talk about like how long do you find this takes to help your client? Because we're talking about, rebranding, rewiring, rebuilding a whole structure, mind structure.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually find when someone has a faith behind them and
Mm.
they can ask for a higher power, it speeds up the process because there's less resistance. So you ask the higher power for guidance, you surrender, but you do all the other work. You have to still do the work. You can't just expect things to fall into your lap. You have to do the work. But if you start that way and you always go back and ask for inspiration and guidance along the way, I find that it's very, very helpful. And I'll often say to ladies, and we'll work on something, and they'll work on an affirmation, and they'll work in a visualization, and within a couple of days, they feel so different. Within a couple of weeks, they feel so different, and within 30 days, they've shifted that habit. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking it's going to take forever, it's not, but it's about consistently showing up and understanding your worth to put the time in.
And if you're listening to this, that's your universe pulling you in. You were meant to hear this. You were meant to make this change, and that is the message right now. Okay.
That's true.
Yeah, it absolutely is true, and I think the faith aspect do give people it lowers the resistance, and that's something I want you to talk about, what resistance look like. It could be the whole habits forming, but if you do have that faith, it does relaxes your nervous system, so you're not so resistant to the new pathing, the new neurons firing and connecting in your brain. So let's talk about what resistance look like for those who don't know what to expect.
Yeah, and it can come in all sorts of interesting and creative forms. Okay. So in our Proctor Gallagher coaching, we call this the terror barrier. There's just different names for it. It's fear. But basically, anytime you move outside of your habit pattern, it feels uncomfortable because your subconscious mind also acts like an autopilot of a plane. And if a plane veers off course due to turbulence or weather, eventually it's going to come back and finish off and arrive at its destination. And our subconscious mind is exactly the same way. If we're programmed to operate at a certain frequency and see ourselves at a certain frequency, and all of a sudden we start to go to the gym and we start to walk every morning and we add in some meditation and we're changing up our food, eventually that's going to feel uncomfortable and we're going to get that pushback. I like to call it paradigm pushback. Paradigm is, that part of the subconscious mind that really controls everything, how we look at the world. And so when we get that pushback, it can look like all sorts of things. Some of the most common things that it shows up as: anger, frustration, feeling overwhelmed, feeling nervous, thinking this isn't meant for me, everything in your world feeling like it's all over the place, like kind of like shit hitting the fan, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. That's what it can feel like. And it's a test. And you just, it's, and the only way to get to the other side is to go through it, right? It's that messy middle. And what can help you through it is the faith, is the belief in your vision, and is, every day you set an intention and you move towards that goal. But it's very tricky, right? So you want to be aware that that's going to happen as soon as you want to do something and you push outside your comfort zone.
And I hear flight, right? Fear of flight, because we're in that constant state, right? Adrenal fatigue, cortisol level spiking. We live in that space, and so it feels normal, but you're saying push through it, sit through it, sit with it, and then the other side is going to be a lot more blissful and easier to navigate.
Yeah, and it does feel uncomfortable. Oh my gosh, every time I set a new goal and I think, why did I do this? This feels uncomfortable. But if you can have that higher power and that belief in something and the real belief in your vision and understand that getting uncomfortable, it doesn't mean you're going in the wrong direction. It means you're going in the right direction. It's just how we look at it.
Yeah. Earlier you said things are not going to fall into your lap. I like to think they do. They do fall into my lap, but the
I do.
caveat,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
Right?
the caveat to that is aligned actions, right? Like feeling that nudge. When you're so quiet that you can hear your higher self speak to you, you can hear that power speaks to you and says, "Move this way, do that." And when you do, the things do fall on your lap.
And that is so true. And that's key, right? It's the inspired action. So
Yeah.
often we don't think about the vision and we don't get connected to spirit and we're not quiet enough to hear the nudge. But when we do those three things and we feel the nudge always puts us in the right direction and things click. Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that because it does, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. For higher power and higher self, you talk about the belief, and a lot of people may struggle with this, trying to define, God, universe, higher self. What is it all? Like, how do you explain it? How have you been taught to explain this?
Well, I choose to believe that we are spiritual beings living in a physical body
Mhm.
and energy flows to and through us. That energy can be called God. It can be called universe. It can be called source energy. And then we impress upon that source energy our desires by how we think. And so it's really what you're comfortable with and what makes you click and what makes you feel alive. And there's no judgment there. It's just that connection and that belief that you know that you have it within and you know that that's where your safety is.
I love that. I love that explanation. It is clear, it's concise, it's no fluff, it's to the point, and it makes sense. It's what resonates with you. Just tap into that and let it lead you, let it guide you. Because they always say it's remembering, right? It's coming back to your own. It's coming back to yourself because it's innate. Everything you, they always, you hear that. Everything you desire or want is inside you. Everything you need is inside you to make whatever you want
Yeah.
accomplished or get out of life but right.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. I love that remembering piece, right? Because we are whole and infinite and beautiful, and we've just been covered with virus code and beliefs that aren't true. But if we can get back to that way of thinking, that's when we start to thrive.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about fear and how people can overcome it.
Yeah, so this is, something that pops up. Fear, I believe, is your paradigm pushing back. So that paradigm pushback you get when you move forward. And the affirmations can be so helpful here and always looking at them because remember, you become what you think about. So if you start your day with affirmations and positivity and intentions, you're going to have a different day than if you didn't do any of that. So it's really important to have that routine to move you through so you can get to the other side and just understand that we can reframe fear as actually empowerment and moving forward. It's all how we choose to look at it. So we want to really pay attention to our language and to our self-talk.
I can listen to you all day, Leslie. I'm just saying. Now, we have a motto here that says, it's get up, dress up, and show up. And the dress up piece of it is it's not physical. It's not putting on makeup. It's the affirmations you're talking about. It's the positivity that you're setting your mind. You're preparing the mind. You're almost reframing the mind for the day so that you can show up to the day empowered, powerful, and aligned. So I'm glad that you said that piece because it's important. It's not also just physical because we're going to talk about exercising and what it does for the body and all that, but it's that crucial piece of like dress up the mind, prepare the mind.
Yeah, absolutely, because, you know, we can get up in the morning and we can move in people's directions, meaning where people want us to go, we can follow by just turning on the news, looking at our phones, responding to email, but we're not being intentional about where we're going and how we're connecting and how we're moving forward. So how you start and end your day are very important things. And I know you talk about that all the time, right? So for us, and I say us, as I mean BUFFnation, it's really about teaching about a powerful morning. Everyone has their different ways, but it's about getting still and quiet and connected. So myself, I do that. I'm a transcendental meditator. I've been practicing transcendental meditation since my father passed away. So he's probably about 10 years or so, and it's been phenomenal for me. So I do that in the morning for 20 minutes, and then I get up and I do some personal development work. So I enter those new thoughts we were talking about, reprogramming the paradigm, dropping in those affirmations, those affirmative statements, those visualizations. And then I set intentions for the day, practice gratitude, and I do some type of physical exercise. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh my God, that's a lot, and I get that, especially if type A driven women, I will say, when you implement this in the morning, it opens up more time in your day because you are now in the vortex or in the flow, right?
Yeah.
Everything is showing up that needs to show up. Life just flows. So you're setting yourself up for a more efficient, more fulfilling, more purposeful day when you take the time to practice your morning routine.
More ease, even if it's 10 minutes, 30 minutes, there's more ease. You gain time. You gain momentum.
Time. Yes, absolutely. When people say they don't have time, I say, how can you not have time? Because what you're doing right now is not giving you the results you need. And in order to change, we have to change the program. And for you to change the program, you got to put the time in. How can you not? How can you not? It's going to make that much of a difference in your life.
Like Jim Rohn says, when you change, everything around you change.
Absolutely. I love that quote. That is just so true.
Yeah. I do love the exercise component. I'm a CrossFit type of girl, 5 a.m. in the morning class. So let's talk about the importance of working out as a fitness coach, and all that you bring to the table, the importance of working out in the morning as well versus night. Does it really matter?
I think, people always ask this question, and I think it's whatever works best for you. Bottom line, let's not make it complicated because we tend to overcomplicate things as human beings to avoid doing the simple things to move forward, right? So we'll be like, oh, shoot, is this just do it whenever. If you want to do it right before bed and you want to dance, then that's what you do. If you want to do it in the morning and it makes you feel good, great. What we really talk to our community about is when you get over 40, one of the best things you need to focus on is strength training. That's going to boost your metabolism because as we get older, we naturally lose muscle mass. When we lose muscle mass, it basically means we can't eat as much food as we used to without feeling it in our stomachs and throughout the rest of our body. And we want to protect ourselves against osteoporosis, make everyday activities easier. So it's strength training, 2 to 3 times or even more if you can do it a week is extremely beneficial. And something that's shifted for me as I get older is the importance of stretching. And I know it's really important for our members as well, but it's a hard sell sometimes. We talk about balancing hormones over 40, and one of the best ways to do that is balance cortisol, but we can only balance cortisol if we slow down. And so stretching, yoga, meditation can actually bring down your cortisol. And when you bring down your cortisol, it just makes everything else so much easier. So I would stress the importance of a really good stretching routine. In our program, we do 10 minutes. Sometimes that's all you have. We have longer, but a 10-minute stretch every day or every other day just to get you feeling good is great. And then of course, getting moving with cardio, whatever you want to do for cardio is great. It doesn't have to be complicated. You go for a walk, you go rollerblading, whatever makes you happy, right? Whatever brings you joy.
Yeah, and the 10-minute stretch doesn't sound too abrasive and intrusive. It's very easy, very relaxed. I have to say though, I'm not there yet, but I'm like 3 months away from 40, so maybe that will change in 3 months. But I'm not sold on stretching, and I know the importance of it, and then yoga specifically, and that's something that I've talked to. I'm going to incorporate because I want to see the benefits and receive the benefits of a 10-minute stretch session. We stretch before our workout, and I don't stretch after my workout. And so it will be imperative, just to throw that in there. And then you mentioned some of the scientific benefits of it. Can you dive into some of that more?
With the strength training
Strength
specifically?
training and stretching as well, because you mentioned like building muscle, bone mass, and
Yeah. So as we get older, as I mentioned, the biggest thing is the muscle loss, and that happens naturally. And if we're not doing any weight-bearing activity, that's when women can really start to notice a difference, especially they'll note like over 40, into 50s, 60s, they'll notice maybe they're in their belly. They'll notice their pants fit differently, their clothes fit differently. What we've got to do is we've got to add more muscle to the body because the more muscle you have, the more calories your body burns at rest. So you can be eating the same amount of food in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, but because your muscle mass is going down, it's going to stick around and as adipose tissue, which is another word for fat, you're going to feel that. And so resistance training really helps to increase your lean muscle mass. And also when it comes to osteoporosis, bone thinning, what weight-bearing activities do is they strengthen our bones. And so that means we're going to have, and the stretching is important because if you fall in Canada here, you can slip on ice. I know that's not happening where you are, but you could slip on ice. And so often when someone slips on ice, and it doesn't matter if they're in their 50s or 60s, there can be some serious injuries there. But if you're doing stretching and you're doing resistance training and you've got good coordination, you've built that up, you can actually prevent some serious injuries from happening. So that's all very important. And then of course, the stretching piece is big because lots of times low back injuries, shoulder injuries come from, we're stressed at work. We sit down at work, we hold tension in our shoulders, then we go work our shoulders. But what have we done to release that tension? And I know personally, physical tension can also, like emotional tension can manifest physically.
oh yeah.
So it's nice to stretch to release all of that. And it's a habit though. It takes a little bit to get into, but when you get into it, you realize it's so worth it.
Yeah, and then you don't stop doing it. Then your body's gonna crave it. You're gonna want to do it more. The habit is formed. You do it 7 days, 21 days. Forget about it. You're no longer thinking whether you should do it or not. You just show up.
You just show up. Yeah. And when you get to that point, when you just show up, that's in your subconscious and you've created a new you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that easily. This is a very, very inspirational and helpful tip. It's nice to learn about the science behind it, why we do it, why we should do it. Because I hear a lot of, let's say my aunts, mom's friends talk about, after 40, they have to work out twice as hard, eat less, just to get the results they were getting when they were 20. And that's what you were alluding to, is that change in our body.
Yes. But I also want to follow that up with, we also want to change what we think too, because if we believe that and we say that to ourselves, we're going to get those results, right? So a lot of it is learning to train differently, to exercise differently, whatever you need to do to step into the better version of yourself or the more elevated version of yourself is the term that I'd like to use, right? And because you're wiser, you've got all these years of experience, and now it's just about fine tuning things so they work for you, not against you.
And careful how you talk to yourself, right? Because you're all listening.
You got it. Yeah.
Leslie, tell us, where can we find you? How can we connect with you?
You can find us at wearebuffnation.com, and our social channels are all there. So wearebuffnation.com. Don't go to Buff Nation. You're going to get something completely different. Go to wearebuffnation.com.
Thank you for that clarification. It has been a joy, and I'm so honored that you have shared your presence with us today, with me today. Thank you for that. I do want to hear one last piece. Like, what's one takeaway you want to leave someone who's like ears to the phone, ears to the mic, and want to hear from Leslie?
That you can do this. If you've got something in your head, it's there for a reason. You're being called to something higher. Don't ignore that and just go for this. Go for it. You've heard this for a reason. You've connected with this and just go for it and move forward.
Universal message right here. Thank you so much, Leslie, for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you. It's been wonderful being on your show.
Awesome. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please comment and tell us what was your favorite part, your favorite habit that you are going to try out for yourself today. Comment below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I will see you at the top of your best morning routine ever. Stay blessed.